You're listening to the Third Down Squad podcast, the best international news podcast for the National Football League. We're your hosts, Derek, Josh, and Toby. Let's get you ready for a new set of downs on Sunday.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Third Down Squad podcast. Today is the first official drill day of the NFL Combine. By the time all of you watch this, it'll most likely be day 2 or 3. But for us, it's day 1, and Toby will be talking a little bit about the Combine. But we have a lot to get into this week, talking about Robert Kraft. We have Nick Foles, Jason Witten, some of the biggest needs in the AFC and NFC West, and of course, Josh's mock draft 1.0. He's given me some hints as to some things to look forward to, and I am very excited for that. But first, before we start any topics, I want to give a quick shout out first to the NFL itself. Yes, I want to give credit to the NFL. Toby, you may like this one. After acknowledging that the blown missed call of the Saints and Rams game, the NFL is considering adding an additional referee to each referee crew specifically to watch replay, which definitely could help in situations such as this. So they are listening. I know it doesn't really help much at the moment now, but it does feel a little better to know they're taking some initiative. And on a more positive note, a study just came out yesterday after going through every injury report throughout the season. The NFL has concluded that there have been 25% less concussions and head-related injuries from this season compared to the 2017-2018 season, which is great to know because we obviously know the NFL and football in general has been trying to make football a much safer sport, and it definitely is nice to see that head-related injuries have gone down this year, which is definitely what we want. We hope that the NFL continues to do that same thing. All right, now we're going to get on to our main topics of the day. And everyone knows about the Robert Kraft situation by now, knowing that he is being charged with a first-degree count of solicitation, where he reportedly received some prostitution acts at a massage parlor in Florida during the AFC Championship game. Now, the biggest question is, and I will ask you, Toby, first, what should happen if Robert Kraft is indicted on these charges? Should Kraft be give the team up? Should the Patriots organization suffer for this, or what should happen?
I mean, first of all, he should be accountable as every other person in the league, because I feel like a person like Robert Kraft might be subject to some favorism from the league. And I mean, giving up the team might be a little bit harsh. But we've seen it before after some racial comments by owners that they have actually given up their teams, like the Clippers owner in the NBA. I think it was 3 years ago. And of course, lately in the NFL, we had the Panthers owner that had to give up his team. So giving up the team is definitely an option, but I'd rather say make Robert Kraft pay for the mistake he made and not the Patriots organization. As much as I don't like the Patriots, but yeah, it's a personal fault and not a team fault. It's not like all their cheating incidents that they had. So I'd say a fine. I don't know how much it would be because it's on a personal income and stuff, so it would be pretty high for Robert Kraft and his net worth. But I'd feel like a fine by the NFL, or maybe you can't really ban owners, so there's no other option than a fine for him. So that's
Josh,
my take
what
on
do
it.
you think? What do you think, Josh?
All right. I feel like the Patriots should not be punished for this because I agree with Toby. It is the personal problem going on here with Robert Kraft and the whole massage parlor thing. Now, I don't like the Patriots, and I'm pretty sure about half of America that's not the East Coast up past Massachusetts agrees with this, but he should let go of the team and let the new blood take over. I'm not treating this like a punishment or anything, but I think it's time to let his son take over the team and try to put it in a new direction, because everybody on that team knows that Brady's close to retirement and Belichick's close to retirement. So why not, while they're still there, have his son take ownership of the team and actually have some guidance on how to do stuff while Belichick and Brady are still there. So the Patriots as a team should not be held accountable by any means by Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft should just take the fine or, go to jail or whatever happens with all these allegations and stuff like that, because that's what they are still right now. They're still allegations.
Right.
And just let his son take over, or whoever else is next in line for the ownership of the Patriots. It just seems to be the best course of action, because if you return after this whole thing, they're still going to look down on your organization even further. So it'd be best just to step out of the ownership role and let somebody else take over.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys 100%. The Patriots should not be tortured over this simply because of one man's simple mistake here. Because you're right. I heard a lot of people say the Patriots should lose their entire draft over this, because that was obviously when the allegation first came out and details were still coming out. Everyone's obviously, in today's society, we call for the execution before we even get to the trial. But yeah, I agree. Kraft should definitely be punished for this, whatever punishment that may be. I'm not the judge and jury here. I will take whatever it needs to be. It definitely should be some jail time, should be a hefty fine. And I definitely agree that he should possibly get rid of the ownership of the team, because whether or not we give it to his son is a separate issue. It's kind of a tough thing to do, because it's basically just giving it to the family, just not him. And Toby, you can ban owners. The NBA actually banned the Clippers owner from ever going to an NBA game ever again.
Yeah,
But
I wasn't saying that they can't ban them forever, but I'd say a ban forever would be a little bit too harsh for it, but kind of banning him for a year like the league did with Sean Payton after the whole Bounty Gate thing. They can't just ban him for a year and then take him back. That's the thing for owners.
yeah, I mean, it's a very weird process, because you don't hear much of this from owners. But I mean, at the end of the day, I agree with you guys that this is a simple individual that needs to be punished rather than the organization. Again, as much as I hate the Patriots, as much as we all do, we just think that, yeah, Robert Kraft does need to be punished for his actions, most definitely. All right, so now we're going to move on to the Miracle Man himself, Nick Foles. After earlier this week, the Philadelphia Eagles have announced that they will not be franchise tagging him, allowing him to become a free agent this year. And I think we all can agree it's not about if he gets signed by somebody, it's a matter of where. Because we all know, we've seen it over the last few years, Nick Foles has been able to come in and provide some very valuable minutes. And, being 30 years old, he could still get a decent sized contract, since he's never really had any, major health issues and all that. It's just a matter of which team gives him the opportunity to shine and hopefully perform a miracle like he did with Philadelphia. So, Josh, I'll start with you. Where do you think Nick Foles will end up signing?
All right, I got him kind of going one of two places. The first one would be the Redskins, because Alex Smith is still going to be hurt, and it's going to be like the perfect setup for him, because he's used to playing the backup, and that's where his strong suit is. Because if he's usually comes in as like a starter, he's kind of like sluggish at first, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. But if he's coming in right off the heels of like the starter where everything is pretty much in control of the game, then he's fine. But with how Alex Smith's leg injury could hinder him probably for the rest of his career, I could see him going to Washington, The other team I can see him going to is the Jacksonville Jaguars, because Blake Bortles is just bad. Look, he was so bad he made my voice crack like I was going through puberty again. He's that bad. Are you kidding me? I mean, what was it? Was it this year or like 2 years ago where his interceptions outweighed his touchdowns?
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, his interceptions outweighed his touchdowns. And after being, passed over, I believe it was the same draft with Johnny Manziel. Am I right? The one where everybody's like, why do we take Manziel and not Bortles?
Yeah.
Well, everybody lost in that one. So,
Everybody lost in that one.
I mean, and you're going to see where I think he's going to end up going more towards Jacksonville, and you're going to see why when you hear my mock draft. But we'll wait till we get to that. So those are two teams I can see getting him.
All right, so Washington and Jags. Toby, any other names that you think?
Yeah, of course, the front runners are Jacksonville and Washington right now, like Josh said. But in my head, I kind of like the idea of Nick Foles going to the Giants. I mean, Pat Shurmur just said again this week that they think Eli Manning is their number one quarterback for the season. But I don't know. I have that feeling about Nick Foles as the permanent starter that makes me kind of uneasy. I mean, we have seen this guy start for the back then St. Louis Rams. So that didn't really go that well, and he only really showed what he can do when he was thrown into the starting position at the end of a season when Carson Wentz went out, or to begin a season, but he wasn't that definite starter from the start of the season till the end of the season. We have only seen that for one season in St. Louis from Nick Foles, so that kind of makes me unsure about him starting. So I could see the Giants getting Nick Foles if Eli Manning doesn't recover from last season. So I'm bringing up the Giants here, which would also be a team in the NFC East, which I don't think the Eagles would quite like to see Nick Foles 2 games a year. Same with the Washington Redskins, of course. And another team that I could see going for Nick Foles are the Denver Broncos. Of course, they need a quarterback right now, and they are not really in a position in the draft to get the really good guys, because probably Dwayne Haskins, Kyler Murray, and maybe even Drew Lock will be gone from where the Broncos are drafting right now, so they probably have to rely on a trade for the draft, or they pursue Nick Foles, so I can see them as an option there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys again. I mean, it is obvious that the front runners are Washington and Jags. I think the actual front runner is Jacksonville at the moment, just because the Alex Smith contract for Washington kind of makes things a little bit more difficult for them. Not to say that they couldn't make it work. It's just that, money-wise, Jacksonville and Washington would both be losing money if they brought in Nick Foles, since both of their quarterbacks are under contract. The only issue is Washington has their quarterback hurt, and he may not play again, at least for not this year. And Jacksonville has a quarterback that they don't want to play. So it's kind of one of those things. And I agree with you, Toby. I think that Nick Foles going to the Giants would be a great fit for Nick Foles if the Giants were able to keep OBJ somehow, some way. If maybe they could bring in Nick Foles and OBJ thinks, oh, Nick Foles would be able to throw me the ball so much better than Eli Manning could. But yeah, and I agree with you. I think the Dolphins are another team that comes to mind. Now, I think that they definitely want to go younger, given all the changes they are. They are in a complete rebuild right now, but they are lacking that one leadership role as a quarterback would say. And I think Nick Foles could help with that. But yeah, right now, the biggest one name right now is Jacksonville and possibly Washington. And now we're going to talk about the one NFC East team that we did not mention in that last topic, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. Just the other day, Jason Witten is announcing he is leaving Monday Night Football on ESPN to come back to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the 36-year-old tight end who hasn't played for over a season was already at a downslope when he retired at the age of 34. It comes a point where you ask, and Toby, I'll start with you. What does Jason Witten actually bring to Dallas? Does he actually make them any better than what they already are?
I mean, he's gonna be, and the Cowboys have said it themselves, that they see him as a coach on the field. He has the experience to bring up the younger guys, and he will not be the guy who is on the field who's gonna get every snap. They said something about 25 snaps a game, and that's plenty enough for a guy who will be 37 at the start of the season. But one thing that actually might help the Cowboys right here is that with the Monday Night Football crew, he actually got to sit down with coaches and coordinators before the games and talk about how they play the game. So he has a lot of insight on a bunch of teams that other players and coaches from other teams just don't have, on the teams of how other coaches play and what their scheme is on games and how they want to play a game. And so that's, I think, a real important part of the game, to have somebody on there that can read a defense even more. I mean, he was always good on reading defenses when he was on the field. He was not so good doing it in the booth. So, yeah, I like the pickup for the Cowboys. It might be a little bit steep with a $3.5 million guaranteed. That's a little bit too much. And another reason is, yeah, he only gets 25 snaps a game, but where are those snaps gonna be? That's probably somewhere in the red zone, when they are at the 5-yard line, to give Dak Prescott another big target in the end zone. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of touchdowns from Jason Witten next season.
Would not surprise me. Josh, what do you got to say about Witten?
I just think that he took a pay cut signing with the Cowboys,
Yes.
going
Yeah.
from Monday Night Football to back to with the Cowboys. But in essence of what he brings back, yeah, he brings back that like veteran experience and all that. But the dude's 36, about to be 37, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
They're only going to use it for like slot routes and blocking. Pretty much. If Gronkowski wants to see his future, just watch Jason Witten this coming season, where they're just not going to use him like they used to. He's just going to be a check down catch, wide receiver, blocking. I just don't like the signing because they got him for way too much.
It's Jerry Jones. I mean,
Yeah.
Jerry Jones does not care at all. Man just bought a $300 million yacht the other day. I don't think he really cares too much.
Yeah, and I mean, I was not a huge fan of him on the Monday Night Crew, and this all good. This goes for Booger McFarland and everybody else. I was not a fan. They just lacked like excitement. That's why I hope Pat McAfee gets the job for Monday Night Football, because
Really hope so.
Yeah,
because he's going to make
hopefully.
it fun.
He makes kickers fun. That's
Yeah.
that's the great thing about it. And I got one question for you guys. How about them Cowboys? Yes. Thank you, Jerry Jones, for getting Jason Witten out of the Monday Night Football booth and onto the field. We have enough of him. Let's put him back where he belongs. Okay. Let's get down to the point here. I agree with
cringy.
Toby completely. I completely agree with Toby that Jason Witten is going to be more of the coach on the sidelines. He's going to be the coach that's just on the field. He's helping Dak Prescott read defenses, help with blocking, as you said, Josh, and helping Zeke find the right running lanes. You're right. He has great football knowledge. He's not the greatest at saying it on Monday Night Football, but he definitely still has that knowledge, and that is something that I think that the Cowboys often need on offense, is another mind to be able to help them with consistency. This was kind of a shock to me when I saw it. I was like, whatever they paid him for was definitely too much. But at the end of the day, it's Jerry Jones. I'm just hoping that Jason Witten coming back does not give Tony Romo a reason to come back. Please stay in the booth, Tony. We enjoy listening to you.
Yeah.
Everyone loves listening to you dissect a play like it's easy. Okay, so as long as Tony Romo is staying, and I've always been a huge critic of Tony Romo, never been a huge fan of him, always thought he was very overrated. But that man needs to stay in the booth because I enjoy listening to him. But Jason Witten being back on the football field is the best thing for commentary in the NFL for a long time.
Yeah,
can we just assume that Pat McAfee and Tony Romo join up on Thursday Night Football?
Oh, please.
Yeah,
Yes,
please.
yeah. Perfect.
And move, what's his face? That's with, who is it that's with him? With Tony Romo? Move him to Monday night. Whoever it is, move him to Monday night. Is it Bob Costas? No.
No, it's Jim Nance.
Jim Nance?
Yeah,
Jim Nance. Jim Nance.
Move Jim Nance to Monday night and keep those other two in check over there. I mean, Monday Night Football is just cringy with the people calling the plays.
Yeah,
there. So get Jim Nance over there.
Yeah, I think
Pat
we can all
McAfee
agree
Thursday
the
night.
winner or who's winning the most in this deal are the football fans who are watching Monday Night Football.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Monday Night Football games are gonna be much more exciting to watch.
Dude,
Yeah.
Jason Witten is the example of when you just think a football player knows everything, so you just throw him into a booth with like a huge paycheck.
We kind of said that same thing about Romo until he actually started dissecting plays right before they happened and called it.
Because Tony Romo has personality. Jason Witten had the personality of a wet towel in the bathroom. There is nothing there.
Moppy. All right, so now we're gonna move on. Toby, we're gonna go to a quick, brief discussion with you. Give us some insight as to what has happened over the last day and a half with the combine.
Yeah, of course, today, the first day with on-field action in the combine today, we saw the offensive linemen, the special teamers, and especially place kickers and running backs. Nothing really excited with the place kickers, of course. What would you expect from a kicker at the combine, really? Then, yeah, the offensive lineman, of course, we got Jonah Williams in there, and he just dominated the drills. He looked like the clear favorite to be the top guy in the draft this year for offensive lineman. He looked quick. His feet looked awesome. He went through those drills like it was nothing. It just looked easy to him. And the second guy, of course, Jawaan Taylor today from Florida. He's a little banged up, so he couldn't show his full potential. He was maybe at 90%, I'd say. But you could see the talent here. And I would actually say if Jawaan Taylor was at 100%, he might actually challenge Jonah Williams at the number one spot for offensive lineman after that combine. But as he's a little banged up, I think it's a hamstring injury that's keeping Jawaan Taylor back. He's a little behind Jonah Williams right now. Then the third group on the field, the drills actually just ended a couple of minutes ago as we're recording this. But the top running back right now in Josh Jacobs is not participating at the combine, which is kind of sad because I'd really love to see the top guy perform at the combine. But the other Alabama running back, of course, in Damian Harris, he had some really good drills today. So, like I said, unfortunately, we didn't see Josh Jacobs, but I think Damian Harris was the best running back on the field today. And I had one player that really stood out to me that isn't really ranked up high by the analysts on probably any network, and Derek, you're probably going to like this. It's Mike Weber. He really looked really good today, and I've seen a couple of Ohio State games over the season, and he stood out to me as well in those games. As Josh is slowly dying inside.
No, hold on. How could I forget all these people? Like, I mean, when you're listening to the combine, you go like, oh wait, he's getting drafted. You know, like you look at like everything, every mock draft that came out, and you're like, all right, I like this. And then you kind of forget that, oh, there's other people getting drafted too.
Yeah. I mean, because it's like, because Mike Weber, yeah, you brought up a good thing. I mean, people kind of forget how much of a workhorse Mike Weber actually is because he was always overshadowed by J.K. Dobbins, who was the younger cat,
Yeah.
who was a lot more agile. And of course, he got overshadowed a little bit by, all the quarterback controversy that goes around Ohio
Yeah.
State. Dwayne Haskins, J.T. Barrett. That's always the big talk. Nobody ever really looks at Mike Weber's numbers until he breaks out one, and you realize the guy's got some good. He's got some really good speed given his weight. He's actually got some good breakaway speed.
Yeah.
When you watch some of the game film, I watched him over the last 2 years, and he ceases to amaze. Toby, you got anything else to add?
Yeah, I got a couple things more, and yeah, Derek.
Oh, he's got a lot to add in this.
Yeah, you said that he is fast for his size. He actually ran a 4.3840 today, which was one of the fastest times. So that really surprised me that time. And I had two other running backs that disappointed me today in Montgomery and Singletary. Montgomery running a 4.6340 and Singletary running a 4.6640. And they did a little better in the drills afterwards with their quickness on their feet, but they were projected to run somewhere in the 4.5s, but they just didn't show any speed today in the 40s, so they disappointed me. So for me, the two Alabama running backs are the top two running backs in this draft for right now after seeing Montgomery and Singletary doing what they did today. And of course, yesterday we already had the measurements for the QBs, and the big question was, what is the size of Kyler Murray? How much does he weigh? How big are his hands? And he actually surprised everybody coming out of there with a measurement of 5'10" and 1/8 of an inch, which is a lot bigger than a lot of people expected him to be. And I am not sure if I want to believe the measurement, but I mean, if the NFL says so, it's the same with Drew Brees. The official measurement is 6 feet, and I don't know if Drew Brees is really 6 feet. So, but officially he's over 5'10", and he came in at 207 pounds. He played in college at 195, so he gained 12 pounds for the combine, and that was a really important question for a lot of guys looking at Kyler Murray, because 195 is a little bit on the light side for an NFL quarterback, but coming in over 200 pounds, that's a lot of weight for a small guy like him.
Mm-hmm.
And his hands, that was a concern of a lot of people as well, but he came in at 9.5 inches, which are huge hands for his size. So not a problem for him holding on to the ball, even in bad weather. And he announced as well to not throw on the on-field drills tomorrow, but we will see. A lot of people are saying if Dwayne Haskins and Drew Lock and all the other guys are performing out there, if he could jump out there and throw a couple of passes as well, just to show them, yeah, I'm the best quarterback here, and just show off his skills. And another measurement yesterday was Drew Lock, which kind of surprised me because nobody ever talked about Drew Lock, that he has small hands. But he came in at 9-inch hands, which would be tied for the smallest hands in the NFL, tied with Jared Goff right now. So that might hurt his draft stock a little bit.
Little baby hands.
Hey, don't be talking crap about the little baby hands, okay? Okay. Anything else you got, Toby?
That's it for me right now. If anybody who's watching this is wondering why I have two cables in my ear, I'm waiting right now for the press conference by Kyler Murray, which will start in a couple of minutes. So if there's any news, I'll get right on that.
All right, awesome. All right, now we're going to dive into one of the bigger topics today before we get into Josh's mock draft, the AFC and NFC West needs. The first team, we're going to start with the AFC division. We are going to start with the Chiefs. We're going to make this pretty short and simple. Toby, what are the Chiefs' two biggest needs?
For the Chiefs, I'd go defense. I mean, they have a pretty good offense, other than on running back, but that's not really that big of a deal for now, I think. So for
Mhm.
me, it's first of all a cornerback, and secondly an inside linebacker, just to stop those passing attacks, which they have kind of a tough division in there with the Chargers and maybe Denver if they find a quarterback. So I'd say
Mhm.
stock up on that pass defense.
Yeah. Josh, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm with Toby on this one. But I'm on him with the cornerback because they just need help on the defense. Because you're right, Toby. They have a perfectly good offense and everything's starting to shape up. They just need to get a running back, probably in the second round, because there's going to be plenty of them.
Yeah.
The second need, I think, they need is a free safety to help Eric Berry on the safety side, just because Barry can't do it all by himself. And if recent injuries are any indication of how hard he works out on the field, he's going to need some help. So I think a free safety and a cornerback are their biggest needs.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. It should be mostly defense. I mean, pretty much they're solid at wide receiver. They're pretty good at offensive line. They're slightly above average. They obviously don't need their quarterback. Uh, and a running back, yeah, they'll probably pick one like second, third round, I would guess. But you're right. They need every position on the defense. Given that they're trying to get rid of D Ford and Justin Houston, they're shopping opportunities to get rid of some of those. Yeah, they definitely need a linebacker. They definitely need a corner, and wouldn't be surprised if they try to go for a pass rusher as well, because their entire defense needs some shaping up, as we saw when they got picked apart in the AFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we're going to go to the Chargers. Josh, what are the two biggest needs for the Chargers?
All right, I'd say their biggest needs are offensive guard and left outside linebacker, because it seems like in the linebacker position, they're pretty weak. They have Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa do most of the workhorse on that defense. And I think if you add in one more linebacker to help, I guess, take the pressure off those two, then they'll feel free to actually, do their own thing and actually get to the quarterback, because they look like they're playing with like the entire hopes and dreams of LA, the Chargers fans, on their backs. And I think if you just get another defensive person in there, they'll be fine. And then with the offensive guard, remember, Quentin Nelson showed the Colts that all you need is to pick the right offensive lineman, and your quarterback is going to be fine. So Philip Rivers has been getting hit, and I think if he gets more time in the pocket with like a offensive lineman, specifically a guard, because it seemed like in the playoff game, their last playoff game they were in, that's all they would attack is just straight up the middle with the Patriots, just piercing that offensive line. I think if they strengthen that offensive line, Philip Rivers will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I also have a linebacker on there, but for me, linebacker is actually at number 3 as their needs. And my top 2 are a guard as well, because same as Josh said, in that last playoff game against the Patriots, they needed someone inside on the offensive line, and also at right tackle, because they have to get outside a little bit as well. So right tackle is a need for them. So basically, offensive line. Let's get something up there.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. The offensive line is definitely the biggest. Probably their biggest need. You're right. Philip has taken a little bit of pressure, and I think that they're just a few decent linemen away from having a very solid offensive line, and then that offense would just become a powerhouse in the NFL. And I agree with Josh. The linebacker position for me is their second biggest need, because they have a good secondary. They have a good defensive line. They just are lacking that guy in the middle to command, or to even have an outside linebacker. Anyone that can help with the flow of the defense, definitely, I think, was the best thing. All right, and now we're switching to the Mile High City, the Denver Broncos. Toby, what are the biggest needs for the Broncos?
Yeah, I also got a right tackle for the Broncos because basically guard is at number 3 for me there. So again, same as with the Chargers, they basically need to toughen up their offensive line. And on my list, there is still a quarterback at number 1 for Denver, even with the signing of Joe Flacco. They need a young quarterback, and I'm not convinced that Joe Flacco is that guy that can bring Denver to the promised land, aka the Super Bowl.
But he's elite. Come on.
No,
he
don't
was for
even
one
stop
season.
that. It was for one season, and that defense was still really, really good.
Yeah.
Man, that's kind of like a meme.
Yeah, right. It is in the NFL. Yeah, Josh, what do you got?
For the Broncos, I'm with Toby on this one. I'd say they need to fix that offensive line. So my first 2 needs are going to be a guard and a center. And I just think if they redo that offensive line completely, their defense is going to help make it a lot easier for the team to win. Because as Thanos said, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. And that's what they are going to be if they fix that offensive line and keep Joe Flacco or, heck, Nick Foles, like you said, healthy and upright. They could actually get to the Super Bowl just by riding on their defense. It's like what the Broncos and the Panthers did in Super Bowl 50.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. The offensive line is the first biggest issue. Whatever position it is. I mean, they honestly don't really have a strong suit anywhere on that offensive line. I mean, they really need to do a big overhaul on that. And I think their next biggest need is corner. I obviously put in there that they would be drafting a cornerback in the first round to help replace some of the effect of losing Aqib Talib from 2 seasons ago. And that sort of falls into play on that. I would just like to mention one quick thing that I saw that former Broncos wide receiver Demaryius Thomas is in custody for a vehicular assault that occurred earlier this morning. Obviously, we don't know all the details yet. We don't know if he's really guilty of it yet or not, but he is in custody for that. I mean, this Broncos team just has a lot of problems with them, and even at quarterback, because John Elway said this morning that he told Case Keenum that he wants him to be the backup. He does not want Case Keenum to be the starter of this year's team. And if Case Keenum is not comfortable with that, he will shop Case Keenum and send him somewhere else. I mean, it's funny that I don't have the quarterback as the number 1 issue with the Broncos right now, considering, I mean, John Elway, the greatest grace he ever got was Peyton Manning. That was the only thing he ever got right. A guy who's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time cannot figure out how to find the right quarterback for his system.
Tim Tebow.
No, not at all. All right, and then last but not least, the Raiders, and I'll start with this one. They need a complete defensive overhaul. We have been preaching it all season long. Get a pass rusher. That is specifically what they need, and they definitely need a defensive end edge rusher. And I think their next biggest need is a toss-up between a linebacker and a wide receiver. Because honestly, the only receiving threat they have right now is Jared Cook, their tight end, who is actually a very underrated tight end, I might remind everyone. He did have the 3rd most reception yards amongst tight ends last season, I believe. But it is very difficult considering they really struggled at just about every position except within the secondary, because they had a couple of pretty decent secondary players. But they do need a defensive end. They need linebackers. They need receivers. They need everything, man. Toby, what do you got?
Yeah, first of all, for the Raiders, basically give me everything you can give me.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what position, give me anything, but I agree with you there that the biggest need there is a defensive end. I mean, the numbers show it. The entire Oakland team last year had 13 sacks over the entire season, which is only half a sack more than Khalil Mack had it the entire season. But even if you put these two together, the Raiders would have been last in the NFL by sacks. So, yeah, definitely you need a defensive end, and second is a linebacker. So up front on defense is their biggest need. Get to the opposing quarterback.
Yeah.
All right.
Josh, what you got?
If my mock draft is going to be any indication, I'm with you guys on this. They just need a new team. A new team. Because every part of that, other than Jared Cook, who, like you said, Derek, he is very underrated and underappreciated sometimes. He does nothing wrong. They just need to sweep everything aside and say, all right, you know what? We're the Las Vegas Raiders now. We're going to start a new team in there. You know, we're going to have
No. They're the Oakland Raiders for one more year. They're the Oakland Raiders for one more year, and then they're the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah. But like you guys said, though, they need a defensive line. And I can't wait to share what I got with you on that front. But they also need cornerbacks because is it Conley?
Yeah, Garyon Conley from Ohio State.
He's the only good cornerback they got.
Yeah.
And they just need a lot. I mean, heck, you could make this a 5 needs the Oakland Raiders need just by itself.
Right.
It's frustrating me.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to shift to the NFC West. We're going to make this real quick. We're going to jump right into it. The runner-up champions, the Los Angeles Rams. I almost said the St. Louis Rams. I apologize. All right, Toby, what are the biggest needs for the Rams right now?
For me, and probably for a lot of people, it's on the defensive side of the ball, because offensively, the Rams have nothing to do. They have a great quarterback. They have great running back if he plays. They have a great line and 3 awesome wide receivers. So they are set on offense. The biggest problem is on defense, and especially up front. You saw it in the Super Bowl against Tom Brady. They couldn't get a lot of pressure on him. They couldn't hit Tom Brady. So for me, it's an edge rusher and a linebacker.
All right, Josh, what do you got?
For me, it's cornerback and linebacker. Because cornerback, you had Aqib Talib, but he barely did much this season. And he's getting up there in age. So I think it's best to start fresh with a new cornerback and having a middle linebacker that, you know, can actually outshine or like come close to Aaron Donald, you know. You just need a big name as a middle linebacker. And I think Justin Houston or D Ford could actually do some good for the Rams. But
yeah, I agree with you guys. The linebacker position is the biggest one for me. They obviously, we see a lot with their defensive line. They obviously have Aaron Donald and a lot of other guys, and they have obviously the corners and safeties that have been rebuilt, but I think that they lack that command in the middle. And I kind of disagree. I think offensive line, they could use a little bit more help on the inside. There was a few times this year where they did get dominated on the inside of the offensive line, especially against the Saints. I will give you credit on that. I watched some of the game film the first time the Saints played the Rams, and having shut down Todd Gurley from doing much on the inside, I think that is something that they need is a run first blocker on the inside. And now we're going to go to the Seahawks. Josh, biggest needs for the Seahawks?
Wide receiver and I'd say defensive tackle. Yeah. Wide receiver, Doug Baldwin can't do it all by himself. They need another big name for that wide receiver core because they're just known for.
Tyler Lockett did have a pretty decent season last year.
I still think they need another one.
Bigger name, I guess.
A bigger name. And I think
and give him credit. I mean, Doug Baldwin is hurt a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Doug Baldwin has been hurt quite a bit over the last few years.
Yeah.
And Toby, what do you got?
For me, it's offensive line. Gordon right tackle again. Make Russell Wilson a little bit more comfortable in that pocket. Of course, he is famous for scrambling and extending plays, but just not that much. Just keep it down a little bit. So let's invest in the offensive line and make Russell Wilson back there a little bit more comfortable and make it easier for wide receivers to get open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, Josh. Defensive tackle is one. I mean, they obviously have Frank Clark and a couple of other guys that get pressure on the quarterback pretty well, but I think they lack some of that pressure up the middle. And safety is my second biggest one. They're potentially about to lose Earl Thomas. Cam Chancellor's not around anymore, so it's like it makes it difficult because they have decent corners, but they get beat a lot on deep routes. And anything shows you what the Colts have been doing recently with Malik Hooker. The Colts were the least thrown team to the passes 20 yards or deeper down the field because Malik Hooker is always that ball hawk that you're afraid to throw down the field. That is what the Seahawks definitely need to help keep the plays in the front. And now we go to the 49ers. Toby, what do you got?
Defensive backfield. Any defensive back you can give me. Cornerback, safety, linebacker. Give it to the 49ers.
Josh, what do you got?
I'm the same with Toby on this one. I just love the cornerback position because apparently that's a huge need now, and I do support that. So yeah, give them another cornerback.
I think that they really just need an overhaul on just about any position they get. Other than tight end and quarterback, they could use it. They could use the defensive end. They can use the wide receiver, the running back, the corners, just about anything that they can get. The best player available at any of those spots, then they pretty much need.
Well, they need to figure out what they're going to do with Solomon Thomas because he's either a defensive tackle or a defensive end or a line or like a edge rusher.
Yeah, I know. And it's like they should keep him at defensive tackle because that's where he was in college. It's where he's best thrown at because he's got great technique on the inside. That's what I think he should be. And lastly, the Cardinals, who, like a lot of other teams, they have a lot of different needs. They definitely need some help on the defensive side of the ball. They definitely need defensive linemen, and they definitely need a cornerback as well. They also need offensive linemen, wide receivers. Again, the only position they truly don't need on the offensive side is the quote unquote their running back. It's pretty much the only thing they don't really need right now. Josh, what do you think?
I just think that they're going to need an offensive line. So give me a right or left tackle and a linebacker. That's what I feel like they need. Yeah.
All right, Toby?
Yeah, I mean, you basically said it before, Derek. Defense about everything, offensive line, but I'd probably take the offensive line right now for Arizona. Because give Josh Rosen another chance and give him some protection to have more time in the pocket and make sure he can develop back there. So I'd go with offensive lineman.
All right. And now we're done with those topics. And now the time has come. It is now time for Josh's mock draft 1.0. Josh, please take it away.
Thank you, Derek. Now,
real quick, before we do it, remember we do it the 1 through 10. We're going to talk about it a little bit. And then the next 5 picks from that point on, then we'll continue to talk about it.
All right. Now, keep in mind, audience, I'm going off of needs. So remember, this is subject to change. The combine just started, so we'll go as is. But with the first pick, I have the Arizona Cardinals taking Jonah Williams, offensive tackle from Alabama. I don't think they give up on Josh Rosen that easily just because Cliff Kingsbury has a thing for Kyler Murray. Otherwise, it's just a waste. But the second pick, I have the Niners taking Nick Bosa. Like I said, DeForest Buckner on the right, Nick Bosa on the left, and Solomon Thomas in the middle. It just writes itself.
Mm-hmm.
With the third pick, the Jets, I got Josh Allen, the defensive end from Kentucky, just to help add into that defensive mindset of the Jets. And then with the fourth pick, pardon me if I butcher this name, but I think it's Keenan Williams, the defensive end from Alabama. And
Quinnen Williams?
Quinnen Williams, yes.
Quinnen Williams, yeah.
Quinnen Williams, yeah. as I just stated before with the whole what does the AFC Oakland Raiders need? That's one of my picks right there.
There you go.
With the 5th pick, I have Kyler Murray going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just think Winston's time is done, and it's time to move on. With the 6th pick, the Giants, I have them taking Dwayne Haskins. It's just, I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I think the Giants would take him just because of Kyler Murray's popularity in name and height. But with the 8th pick, I got the Detroit
pick.
7th pick. Sorry, I got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Cody Ford, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma, because I'm taking into account that since Nick Foles just got released, he might be going to the Jags, so they wouldn't need to get a quarterback yet. Now with the 8th pick, I finally have the Detroit Lions taking Rashawn Gary, the edge rusher from Michigan, because Ezekiel Ansah is going into free agency, supposedly, and they're going to need help on that side. With the 9th pick, I have Buffalo taking DK Metcalf, wide receiver from Ole Miss, to help give Josh Allen a new deep threat. And for right now, with the 10th pick, the Denver Broncos are selecting Greedy Williams, cornerback from LSU. And as we stated before, cornerback is one of the needs of the Broncos. All right, so now that you heard that, thoughts, opinions, prayers?
Toby, go ahead. Start.
All right. Yeah, I actually love the picks, and I've seen the mock draft before, and I've talked to Josh about a couple of those picks, and I was actually telling him that I was thinking about putting Kyler Murray to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well in my next mock draft, but he's taking that idea away.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but definitely an interesting pick that not a lot of people project, and Jonah Williams as the first overall pick. But as I've said, I like the pick as offensive lineman for the Arizona Cardinals. So yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that would actually be their choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because, like, I think the 2 quarterback picks are the only ones that I don't really agree with. Kyler Murray going to Tampa Bay, I just don't see it. Giants selecting a quarterback after they've continuously said they wouldn't, I don't see it. But other than that, the rest of your picks, I actually kind of agree. It's like, it is kind of funny to think Jonah Williams a number 1 pick, but then again, it's like a thing where, you know, they don't really need Nick Bosa as much as they really do need Jonah Williams as the marquee guy if they decide to keep Josh Rosen instead of Kyler Murray. And I agree with you with the Greedy Williams pick. I originally had Rashawn Gary as my Detroit pick as well. So that was one that I kind of related to there. And I think you're right. You went with need, and I think you definitely hit that on the mark with a lot of these picks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really quick before we get there. If the Cardinals go Kyler Murray, they're just pulling a Johnny Manziel. You know, you're just going for a name.
Yeah,
I can sort of agree with that. I can sort of agree.
Yeah. But anyway, back to my mock draft. At the 11th pick with Cincinnati, I have them taking T.J. Hockenson, the tight end from Iowa.
Oh, yeah. I've heard a lot of Colts fans say that we should try to get him. We were wondering if he would fall, but yeah. Keep going.
With the 12th pick, I have the Packers taking Devin White, the linebacker from LSU. With the 13th pick, I have Miami taking Jawan Taylor, the offensive tackle from Florida. With the 14th pick, I have the Falcons taking Devin Bush, the linebacker from Michigan. With the 15th pick, I have Washington taking Drew Lock, the QB from Missouri.
Okay.
With the 16th pick, I have Carolina taking Montez Sweat, edge rusher from Mississippi State. With the 17th pick, I have Cleveland taking DeAndre Baker, cornerback, Georgia. Okay. With the 18th pick, I have Minnesota taking Byron Murphy, cornerback, Kentucky.
Washington.
With the 19th, or Washington, sorry. I don't know why I put Kentucky. With the 19th pick, I have Tennessee taking Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle from Clemson. With the 20th pick, I have Mac Wilson, linebacker from Alabama, going to the Steelers.
Okay.
All right.
I agree with you on the what was it? The Christian Wilkins pick for Tennessee. I don't see Cleveland and Minnesota going for guys outside of tackle, because I think that Minnesota, being one of the bottom 10 worst offensive lines in the NFL last year, acknowledged that they need to be better on the offensive line, and I think that they need an offensive tackle rather than a corner or a linebacker. But an interesting pick with the Drew Lock pick. That would definitely be I think that would probably be a decent option that they probably go with if they don't end up getting Nick Foles. I agree with you. Green Bay. I think Green Bay might go for coverage more than linebacker, but I do like that you're going with the defense. So I see a couple of things there. I see a couple of what you did. TJ Hawkinson. Like I said before, I've talked to a lot of Colts fans who keep bringing mock drafts saying TJ Hawkinson is, I mean, we already have so much depth at the tight end position already, but given how fast he is and how good he is, it makes you wonder if he's actually going to be in the first round or if he could be really early.
Yeah, I basically got to agree with Derek there, and I actually love the pick of Jawan Taylor to the Miami Dolphins. They need somebody up front, and like I said, he looked really good in the combine drills today, even if, when he was not at 100%. So I love that pick, and I had Baker to Cleveland as well, so I could see Cleveland going with a cornerback there as well, and I think they need somebody opposite of Denzel Ward. So yeah, basically, TJ Hawkinson, I don't know, but if I could see a team taking Hawkinson in the first round, it's definitely Cincinnati.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, ready for 21 through the rest of the way?
Yep.
Let's go.
All right, with the 21st pick, I have Seattle taking Deebo Samuel, wide receiver from South Carolina, because I just have a thing with the Seahawks and wide receivers, like needing a big name. But I had with the 22nd pick, I have Baltimore taking Josh Jacobs, running back, Alabama. With the 23rd pick, I have Houston taking Deontay Thompson, safety, Alabama. I believe I said that name right. If not, I apologize. With the 24th pick, I have the Oakland Raiders taking Ed Oliver, defensive tackle, Houston. With the 25th pick, I have Philadelphia taking Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle, Clemson.
Okay.
With the 26th pick, I have Indianapolis taking Draymond Jones, defensive tackle, Ohio State. With the 27th pick, I have the Oakland Raiders taking Brian Burns, edge rusher, Florida State. With the 28th pick, I have the Los Angeles Chargers taking Noah Fant, tight end, Iowa. With the 29th pick, I have Kansas City taking Nasir Adderley, safety, Delaware. All right, ready for the 30th pick, Derek?
I'm ready.
Here we go. With the 30th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Chase Winovich, edge rusher, Michigan.
Oh,
With
no.
With the 31st pick, I have the Los Angeles Rams taking Jachi Polite, edge rusher, Florida. And with the last pick, number 32, I have the New England Patriots taking Daniel Jones, quarterback, Duke.
Is he done? Is he done?
Yeah.
Is he done with his bull crap? Okay. All right, good. All right, I want to just say the first word.
Right here. Aim right here.
Something is wrong with you. Chase Winovich, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, Josh. Okay, I must say I am surprised. Yes. All right, well, I'm glad that you mentioned Dexter Lawrence at one point and Ed Oliver, because I was afraid that you were getting close, and I was like, is he really missing out on like 2 or 3 of the best defensive linemen in this? I think that I disagree, and I think that Dexter Lawrence and a couple of others are going earlier than what you've projected. And one name you didn't mention, and I don't know if you mentioned it in the one pick that I didn't hear you, but it was Clelin Ferrell, the defensive end from Clemson. who a lot of people have as a top 10 draft pick, and you don't have him in your first round. It's probably the only thing that I've noticed other than that. But again, your 30th pick, dude, please reconsider that. I know you're trying to be funny, but just reconsider that.
Well, you know what's funny is that I told Toby this. I said, I'm just putting Chase Winovich in there as a placeholder because I feel like I missed somebody. So it was Colin.
So
it was
there
Colin
you go.
Farrell.
That's
It was supposed to be Colin Farrell, but I forgot who he was. So I put
Yes.
Chase Winovich in there just to fill out the draft.
All right, so now we know
Yeah.
why.
And one guy that I kind of don't agree with you as well in the first round is Noah Fant. I can't see another another tight end, going in the first round there. There's just the tight end group is really deep in this draft, but from the top guy to the second guy, it's just that steep of a drop off that I can't see another guy going in the first round. And like Darren said, Lawrence dropping that far, I can't see, but I can kind of see Ed Oliver might be dropping that far with all the off-field issues that he's having. But I don't think he will not make it to 24, I think. He will be picked up a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah, I think so.
Keep in mind, this is a mock draft. So
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's our
Yeah.
first one, so we've all gotten our input. We've gotten, some perspective on what everyone else thinks. So now it's only time to get ready for our mock draft 2.0s.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, that's it for this week's podcast. I hope you all enjoyed the, little bit of humor we got out of this week's podcast. Be sure to like the new channel, the Third Down Squad. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Follow all of our Twitters, and be sure to subscribe to the new channel, to Toby's channel, my channel. And as always, be sure to subscribe to PewDiePie. We're still trying here, okay? We're still trying really hard. All right. So thanks, guys, very much for doing this with me. I had a blast. And I will be looking forward to doing it next week.
Chase Winovich for the 30th pick.
Yeah.
See ya.
You heard it here first, folks.